Imagine waking up 3 days from now and discovering that money has shown up for you in a way you never could have predicted. Not luck, not chance. A shift in consciousness so precise it pulls wealth straight into your life. If you're ready to command financial reality, stay with me. In the next few minutes, you will learn how to align your inner world so completely with abundance that money has no choice but to manifest for you quickly. These principles have transformed countless lives, and when applied with conviction, they can open the floodgates of unexpected financial gain in just 3 days or less. Creating the inner decision is the moment you stop negotiating with possibility and step fully into certainty. It is the internal act that shifts your relationship with money from something you pursue to something you command. When you decide that money is coming, you are not making a casual statement. You are issuing a decree from the highest level of your consciousness. This decision is not spoken aloud, it is felt. It is an inward knowing that settles into your being like a final answer, a conclusion from which you will not move. Once that decision is made, you no longer oscillate between belief and doubt. You no longer question whether the result is possible. You stand on the truth that the financial outcome you desire already exists in the unseen, and by choosing it, you activate the forces that bring it into visibility. A true decision is powerful because it ends conflict. As long as you are torn between wanting and doubting, between imagining and fearing, your energy remains divided. A divided mind cannot produce a unified result, but in the moment of decision, your energy gathers itself. It aligns, it becomes coherent. You feel a shift inside, subtle yet undeniable, as if something has clicked into place. That click is the moment your desire becomes a commitment, and commitment reshapes the world around you. It is the spiritual equivalent of signing a binding agreement with yourself. It says, "This is done, this is mine. I no longer entertain alternatives." Most people never experience the true power of decision because they never fully choose. They linger in the realm of, "I hope money comes," or "I wish things would improve," which keeps them in a passive relationship with abundance. Hope is not a creator. Wish is not a builder. They are emotional placeholders that feel good but do not generate change. Decision, however, is a creative act. It is declarative. It draws a line in the sand and states that you will no longer accept the old reality as your truth. The moment you make this inner stand, life begins to rearrange itself to honor your choice. You will often feel the decision before you see any evidence. This is important. The evidence does not create the decision creates the evidence. When you decide that money is coming, your internal dialogue changes. You stop asking, "Will it happen?" and begin thinking, "It is happening." This subtle shift in language is not empty affirmation. It is the natural vocabulary of a consciousness that has accepted its new reality. Your emotional landscape transforms as well. You feel calmer, more grounded, more assured. Doubt may try to arise, but it does not take root because the decision has already claimed the territory. Once the decision is set, desire becomes direction. You are no longer wandering through possibilities. You are walking a path that already exists within you. This path is not external. It is the inner corridor through which the manifestation will travel. Every decision creates a pathway, and every pathway leads to an outcome. When the decision is made with conviction, the path becomes clear, straight, and unobstructed. You begin noticing impulses, ideas, nudges, and synchronicities that align with the result. These are not coincidences. They are the natural reflections of your inner clarity. The world around you responds to your decision because consciousness is the root of all experience. When you decide firmly, you shift the frequency you are emitting. You stop vibrating at the level of lack and begin broadcasting a signal of possession. This signal draws corresponding events, people, and opportunities to you. Abundance does not resist those who are certain. It flows to them because they have removed all internal barriers. The decision becomes the mold into which reality pours itself. Making the decision also neutralizes fear. Fear thrives in uncertainty. When you are unsure whether your desire will manifest, fear has room to operate. But once you decide, fear loses its leverage. It can no longer persuade you because you are no longer entertaining alternate outcomes. You are not hoping for money. You are expecting it. You are not asking for a shift. You are commanding it. And this authority does not come from force. It comes from alignment. When your inner world aligns with your desire, you become immovable. To create the inner decision, you must do more than think it. You must feel it. You must embody it. Say within yourself, quietly but firmly, that the money is coming, and refuse to back down from that truth. Let your inner tone be final. Let your conviction be absolute. This is not a moment of hype or temporary motivation. It is a grounding into certainty so deep that no external circumstance can shake it. You may still have bills, challenges, or uncertainties, but they no longer define your expectation. Your decision overrides the appearance of lack and replaces it with the reality of abundance. The most remarkable thing about this inner decision is that once it is made, the manifestation often unfolds with surprising speed. Things begin happening that you could not have predicted. Solutions appear, opportunities open, resources shift, people reach out. Money flows in ways you could not have orchestrated from the level of logic. This is because the decision activates unseen channels, and those channels work with a precision far beyond the reasoning mind. In the end, creating the inner decision is not about forcing wealth into existence. It is about aligning with the wealth that is already prepared for you. It is the act of stepping into your authority as the creator of your experience and declaring what you will accept as your reality. From that declaration, everything moves, everything responds, everything aligns. The power lies not in waiting for the universe to decide for you, but in deciding for yourself and allowing reality to conform to your choice. Defining the exact outcome is the step that transforms desire into a command. When you are unclear about what you want, you create an energetic fog around the manifestation. The mind cannot deliver what it cannot picture. The universe cannot reflect what you have not formed within. So the first responsibility you carry is to bring your desire into sharp, uncompromising focus. You do this by selecting the precise financial result you want to experience within the next 3 days. Not in general, not someday, not more money, but a specific amount or outcome that has weight and meaning to you. Most people fail to manifest quickly because they leave their desires unshaped. They speak in broad terms, thinking that generality keeps the door open, when in reality it keeps the door from forming at all. When you say you want money, what does that mean? $10, $1,000, enough to cover a bill, enough to create overflow. Without definition, the mind holds no target, and where there is no target, the arrow drifts without force. This is why precision is not just preferred, it is the engine of rapid manifestation. Take a moment and determine the exact amount you desire. Be honest about it. Do not shrink the number to avoid disappointment. Do not choose a figure that feels emotionally empty. Pick the number that solves the problem, creates the shift, or ignites the feeling of expansion you seek. When you land on the right amount, you will feel a subtle click within. An inner confirmation that says, yes, this is it. That number now becomes the container into which your manifestation will pour. If your desire is not tied to a number, but to a financial outcome, such as clearing a debt, receiving an unexpected financial blessing, getting approved for funding, or being gifted a sum, define that outcome with the same level of clarity. Describe it to yourself in its completed form. This bill is paid in full. This amount arrives effortlessly. This financial breakthrough reaches me from the perfect source. You are shaping the blueprint from which creation will work. The clearer the structure, the faster the physical expression can take form. Once you define the outcome, your next task is to feel it as finished. This is the part most overlook. They name a desire but remain emotionally tied to the absence of it. They speak the number but continue to feel lack. Manifestation does not respond to words. It responds to the vibration behind the words. When you declare a specific financial result, you must also align yourself emotionally with the version of you who already possesses it. This alignment is what turns intention into inevitability. To do this, sit quietly and bring the exact amount or outcome into your awareness. See it as though it has already occurred. Imagine checking your account and finding the balance increased by that amount. Picture the notification of payment received. Picture yourself holding the cash, smiling as relief washes over your entire system. Let that feeling of completion rise in your chest. Let it settle in your breathing. Let it shift the posture of your body. You are not pretending. You are moving into the reality that already exists in the unseen. Clarity is not just about numbers. It is about emotional precision. When you define an amount, you are defining more than a figure. You are defining a state of being. Ask yourself, how would I feel if this amount were already mine? Calm, empowered, free, supported, confident. These feelings are the true currency of manifestation. When you generate them deliberately, you are aligning with the timeline where your desire is already fulfilled. The number becomes the symbol, the feeling becomes the magnet. As you hold this inner picture, avoid slipping into the mindset of hoping or waiting. The moment you begin to wait, you reaffirm that the outcome is not yet yours. Instead, return again and again to the state where it is done. When your mind wanders, bring it gently back to the completed vision. Do not try to force the how or the delivery route. The definition of the outcome is your responsibility, the orchestration is not. Your job is to create an internal world so coherent, so aligned that reality must conform. Think of your desire as an architect's sketch. The more detailed the blueprint, the more efficiently the builders can execute the structure. When you define the amount with precision, the unseen begins construction immediately. Ideas, inspirations, opportunities, conversations, and events begin shifting in your favor. The financial blessing may come from a source you expect or from a direction you never imagined. But the moment you created clarity, the path began forming. Do not underestimate the power of choosing a number. It is not small, it is not trivial. It is the moment you step into authority over your financial experience. Vagueness is passive, clarity is command. When you say, I receive this exact amount, you are not merely expressing a desire, you are issuing a decree. And when that decree is supported by the feeling of completion, manifestation becomes not just possible but predictable. In the next 3 days, your defined outcome becomes your internal anchor. Anytime your mind wanders, return to the picture of the amount already delivered. Anytime doubt rises, return to the feeling of completion. Anytime impatience stirs, return to the inner knowing that you have already received it. Your precision is the power, your clarity is the catalyst, and your unwavering focus transforms a simple number into a magnetic force that draws the financial result into your physical reality with remarkable speed. Close your eyes and step into the version of yourself who already received the money. Not as a fantasy, not as a hope, but as a lived internal fact. Allow the scene to rise within you from the position of completion. When you imagine, do not watch yourself from a distance. Be the one who has already received the financial blessing. Feel the way your breathing changes. Notice how your body relaxes when the pressure of needing money dissolves. There is a relief that naturally floods through you when the desire has been satisfied, and this relief is the signal that you have shifted states. Let that feeling wash over you until it becomes unmistakably real. This is not about forcing emotion. It is about recognizing the emotional signature of your fulfilled desire. If money suddenly appeared in your life today, you would feel a sense of certainty, a quiet joy, a change in the way you carry yourself. You would walk differently because the burden that once weighed on your shoulders is gone. You would think differently because your mind is no longer searching for solutions or opportunities. Instead, it is resting in the satisfaction of having received. That is the state you must embody now, long before anything changes externally. The state of the wish fulfilled is the inner address where your manifestation is delivered. When you dwell in lack, worry, or expectation, you are sending signals that the outcome is still absent. But when you dwell in fulfillment, you align yourself with the vibration of what you want. You shift from longing to possessing, from waiting to having, from hoping to knowing. The universe responds not to your desires, but to your assumptions. If you assume the money is already yours, you generate the internal conditions that compel it into physical form. Take a moment and imagine the outcome as though it has already occurred. What message would you receive? What would you say to yourself? What would you do next? Instead of imagining the process of getting the money, see yourself after the money has been received. Perhaps you picture yourself checking your account and seeing the increase. Perhaps you feel the weight of cash in your hands. Perhaps you hear someone telling you that an opportunity has opened for you. Whatever scene feels natural and symbolic of completion, stay there. Let it play gently in your mind until it becomes familiar. The key is to generate the emotional reality, because emotion imprints the subconscious. The subconscious does not respond to struggle, effort, or willpower. It responds to the feeling of the fulfilled desire. When the feeling becomes established as your internal norm, your external world must reorganize to mirror it. This is why sustaining the state is more powerful than repeating words or affirmations. Words can contradict your inner state, but feelings reveal the truth of your belief. As you embody the fulfilled state, you may notice that resistance begins to fall away. Doubt loses its influence because your inner world is already living the outcome. You no longer ask, when will it happen? Because inwardly, you know it has happened. You no longer ask, how will it come? Because the version of you in the fulfilled state is already enjoying the result. You are not acting, you are remembering. You are remembering the reality you have chosen, and through remembrance you anchor it into form. Throughout your day, return to this state silently and effortlessly. You do not need long meditation sessions or elaborate rituals. A 5-second shift into the feeling of completion is enough to realign your consciousness. Each time you step into the identity of the one who already has the money, you strengthen the assumption and weaken the old state of lack. Eventually, the fulfilled state becomes your default, and when it becomes your default, manifestation becomes inevitable. This inner shift alters everything about how you interact with life. You walk through your environment with a sense of calm authority because you are no longer seeking proof. You carry a quiet certainty that the external world is catching up to what you have already accepted internally. You begin responding to challenges differently because you are no longer interpreting them through the lens of scarcity. Instead, you interpret them as temporary conditions that cannot override the reality you have already established. Living from the wish fulfilled transforms your tone, your expectations, your decisions, and your energy. People feel it when they interact with you. Circumstances shape themselves around it. You become a magnet to the result not because you are striving for it, but because you are embodying it. Manifestation is not an act of pursuit, it is an act of becoming. When you become the version of yourself who has the money, the outer world must conform. To deepen this practice, allow yourself to enjoy the fulfilled feeling, luxuriate in it. Let it become a source of quiet pleasure. The more natural it feels, the more stable it becomes. And the more stable it becomes, the faster the physical reflection appears. Money, opportunities, unexpected blessings, these all flow to the state that calls them. Your job is to maintain the inner atmosphere that signals it is done. When you master this inner alignment, time becomes irrelevant. Whether it manifests in 3 days, 3 hours, or 3 moments is no longer the focus. You know the result is secure because you have already accepted it inwardly. And acceptance is creation. The world is simply the echo. Using sensory imagination is the practice of stepping so deeply into the reality you desire that your mind can no longer distinguish between what is imagined and what is physically present. This inner vividness is what calls your manifestation forward with speed and certainty. When you imagine with full sensory involvement, touch, sight, sound, emotional tone. You create an internal environment that makes your desire feel familiar, natural, and already complete. And what the mind accepts as natural, the world eventually mirrors. Begin by choosing a scene that represents the fulfillment of your financial intention. It might be the sensation of holding the exact sum of money you want, or the moment you see the confirmation message of a payment arriving, or the experience of someone celebrating your financial breakthrough with you. Whatever scene you choose, commit to making it as lifelike as possible. Sensory imagination is not passive daydreaming. It is conscious participation in the reality you intend to manifest. Start with touch. If you imagine holding physical money, feel its texture in your hands. Notice the weight, the crispness, or the softness of the bills. If you imagine a digital notification, feel the phone in your hand, the smoothness of the screen, the slight vibration as the message appears, the subtle temperature of the device. Touch anchors your imagination because the body responds to sensory cues instinctively. When you recreate those cues internally, your nervous system starts responding as though the moment is real, and that internal response becomes a magnetic field drawing your desire closer. Next, shift your focus to sight. What do you see in this fulfilled scene? Maybe you visualize the numbers in your bank account rising. Perhaps you see a transaction marked payment received, or a message stating funds have been deposited. If you imagine a conversation, notice the facial expressions of the person congratulating you, the smile, the excitement in their eyes, the recognition of your success. See the environment around you, the colors, the lighting, the objects in the space. The clearer your inner visuals, the more your mind accepts the state as already accomplished. Clarity of vision sharpens the path for manifestation. Now listen. Sound is a powerful creative force because it carries emotional resonance. Hear the tone of the notification as it chimes on your device. Hear the words of celebration from someone who acknowledges your breakthrough. Hear yourself responding with calm confidence or joyful gratitude. Even if the sounds feel faint or difficult at first, practice will strengthen them. Your imagined sounds do not need to be perfect. They only need to reflect the emotional truth of fulfillment. When your inner hearing aligns with your intention, the mind begins recognizing the event as inevitable. Then shift into the emotional atmosphere of the scene. Emotions are the language of the subconscious, and the subconscious is the factory of physical manifestation. How does it feel in the moment you receive the money? Perhaps there is a wave of relief, or a warm surge of gratitude, or a sense of expansion in your chest. Maybe you feel grounded and secure, knowing your financial world has shifted. Let the emotional tone saturate your imagination. Do not force emotion. Allow it. The more naturally you can feel the outcome as complete, the more quickly the world will bend to match that feeling. As you explore the scene, let your imagination become immersive rather than conceptual. Do not simply think about the money arriving, experience it. Stand inside the moment as if it is unfolding right now. Your imagination is not a place you visit. It is a reality you inhabit. Let the scene play out for a few seconds, then loop it gently, without strain. This repetition imprints the fulfilled state upon your inner world. If distractions arise, do not fight them. Instead, softly guide your attention back to the sensory details of the scene. The mind becomes obedient through consistency, not force. Each time you return to the imagined moment, you strengthen its presence within you. Eventually, the scene will feel natural, effortless, and real. As the sensory experience becomes richer, you will notice a shift in your physical body. Perhaps your breathing deepens, your muscles relax, or a subtle calm settles over you. These are signs that your imagination is beginning to impress your subconscious. This impression is what accelerates manifestation, because the subconscious produces your physical experiences based on the assumptions it holds. When your sensory imagination convinces it that the financial outcome has already occurred, the outer world must reflect that assumption. Use sensory imagination, especially before sleep or during moments of stillness throughout the day. These are times when your mind is most receptive and your inner world is easiest to shape. A few minutes of anchored, sensory-rich imagination is more powerful than hours of unfocused thought. What matters is not the length of the session, but the depth of immersion. Ultimately, sensory imagination dissolves the gap between what you desire and what you experience. It collapses the distance by making the fulfillment so vivid, so emotionally real, that the universe has no choice but to align with the frequency you are broadcasting. You are not waiting for the money. You are receiving it internally, and that internal receiving is the cause of the external arrival. When you master sensory imagination, you master speed, precision, and certainty in manifestation. Doubt is the quiet thief of manifestation, and if you do not recognize its subtle movements, it can undermine your entire creation before it has the chance to materialize. Over the next 3 days, doubt may appear not as a roaring voice, but as a gentle nudge, a question, a fleeting thought that whispers, "What if it doesn't happen?" The mistake many people make is believing they must fight these thoughts, debate them, or overpower them through force. But doubt is not conquered by struggle, it is neutralized through replacement. The moment you sense its presence, shift your attention back to the end scene, the moment of receiving the money, the feeling of completion that you crafted with intention. That shift is the true act of mastery. Your imagination is the workshop where your financial outcome is built. Doubt enters only when you momentarily forget that you are the builder. It arrives when you slip into the old belief that external conditions determine your financial destiny. But the truth is the reverse. The state you occupy determines the conditions you meet. Therefore, doubt is not an enemy to be defeated. It is simply an indicator that you momentarily wandered from the state of fulfillment. The instant you notice it, return to the feeling of the desire already achieved. Feel the weight of the money in your hands. See the number on the screen. Imagine the message confirming it has arrived. This quick return restores your inner authority and dissolves doubt at its root. When you replace doubt with the end scene, you prevent it from gaining momentum. Thoughts grow only when they are fed. A passing doubt starves quickly when you refuse to dwell on it. You do not need to argue with it or suppress it. You simply turn away. Imagine walking down a hallway toward a door that represents your fulfilled desire. Doubt is like a side room with an open door. You might glance in for a moment, but as long as you do not step inside, it cannot influence your direction. Your task is to continue walking down the hallway toward the door of fulfillment. Every time you bring your attention back to the completed vision, you take another step toward that door, reinforcing the state that creates your outcome. This discipline is what distinguishes fast manifestors from slow ones. Wealth does not come quickly because someone is lucky, gifted, or chosen. It comes quickly because they maintain inner consistency. They do not allow themselves to drift in and out of opposing states. When doubt arises, they act with intention. They do not let a temporary feeling create a permanent result. They understand that manifestation is not about perfection, but about persistence. You can experience doubt and still manifest in 3 days or less, as long as you do not stay in doubt. To neutralize doubt instantly, you must make the end scene your home. It should feel familiar, comforting, natural. When you think of receiving the money, the scene should pull you into it with ease, because you have rehearsed it so often that it becomes second nature. This makes returning to it effortless whenever doubt tries to distract you. Instead of fighting the thought, you simply slip back into the feeling of receiving the money, like returning to a room where you already belong. The emotional shift is instant, and doubt has no soil in which to grow. Understand that doubt is only powerful when you entertain it. When you invite it into your mind and begin analyzing it, defending yourself against it, or worrying about what it means, you feed it energy. But if you greet it with neutrality, without panic, and redirect your attention back to fulfillment, it dissolves quickly. Doubt cannot coexist with a firmly held end scene. One cancels the other. The moment you feel yourself aligned with the result, doubt loses its influence entirely. Another key to neutralizing doubt is recognizing that doubt is simply old conditioning resurfacing. It is not a prediction. It is not a sign. It is not intuition. It is the residue of previous beliefs, nothing more. When you give it meaning, you strengthen it. When you see it for what it is, an echo of the past, you refuse to let it shape your future. By consciously returning to the fulfilled state, you override old mental patterns and establish a new dominant belief. That money flows to you easily, naturally, and quickly. Over the 3-day manifestation period, aim to catch doubt early before it spirals into emotional reaction. Treat every moment of doubt as an opportunity to deepen your mastery. When you shift from doubt back into fulfillment, you strengthen your ability to hold the state, regardless of external evidence. This is the level of inner command that allows manifestations to materialize rapidly. Because you are no longer swayed by appearances, you no longer delay your results by slipping into contradictory feelings. As you practice this instant return to the end scene, you will notice something remarkable. Doubt begins to lose its voice. It appears less frequently and with less intensity. You may still hear the faint whisper of uncertainty, but you recognize it immediately and no longer identify with it. Its presence does not disturb your peace or shake your confidence. You treat it as a passing cloud in a sky that remains clear beneath it, and in that clarity, manifestations materialize with astonishing speed. By reclaiming authority over your inner world, you assert the truth that your financial reality begins and ends with your state of consciousness. When you refuse to dwell in doubt and consistently choose the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you create a straight, unobstructed path for the money to reach you. This simple, unwavering discipline accelerates every manifestation you seek, and over the next 3 days, it becomes the force that pulls financial abundance directly into your experience. Assuming the financial outcome is done is not merely a mental exercise, it is a complete shift in identity. It requires you to walk through your life as the person who already possesses the wealth you desire. This state of mind does not depend on external signals or visible progress. It is rooted in an inner certainty that overrides evidence, appearances, and temporary conditions. When you adopt this inner posture, you are no longer looking for signs because you understand that the assumption itself is the sign. The moment you assume it, creation is set in motion, and the outer world must eventually conform. To live from this assumption, you must begin by quieting the habitual need for confirmation. Most people delay manifestation because they keep checking whether something has happened yet. This constant monitoring is a declaration of doubt. It implies that the result is still uncertain, still pending, still separate from the present moment. But when you truly assume the financial outcome is done, there is no urge to check. You do not need to look for a sign because you already possess the feeling of completion within. The result becomes as natural to you as the ground you walk on. You do not question whether the ground will support you, you simply move. In the same way, you move through your life with the calm knowing that abundance is unfolding. Living in this assumption means carrying yourself with the psychological bearing of someone who has already received the money. Notice how you would speak, how you would breathe, how you would sit, how you would respond to challenges if the financial blessing were already yours. Embody that version now. Perhaps you would feel lighter, more relaxed, more stable, more confident. You would not worry about small obstacles. You would not panic over temporary delays. You would operate from a state of internal sufficiency. That is the version of yourself you must inhabit. This inner demeanor becomes the signal the universe responds to because it communicates that the work is already finished. The more consistently you maintain this inner poise, the more rapidly external conditions reorganize themselves. Reality is not responding to your words, but to your state. A state is not something you visit, it is something you live in. When you adopt the state of someone who already has the financial outcome, you naturally begin to think, react, and behave in alignment with that identity, your decisions acquire a different tone. You stop operating from desperation. You stop engaging in financial fear. You stop approaching opportunities with caution or disbelief. Instead, you meet life with assurance, because the version of you who already has the wealth you desire does not question whether the universe supports them. They know it does. Expectation plays a powerful role here. True expectation is not forced positivity. It is not pretending. It is the quiet creative force that arises when you have fully assumed an outcome as reality. It feels like inevitability. Just as you expect the sun to rise, you expect your financial manifestation to appear. You do not stay up all night worrying whether the sunrise will be delayed or cancelled. You are so accustomed to its consistency that you trust it without doubt. When you expect your financial blessing with the same depth of assurance, you release resistance, and manifestation accelerates. This level of expectation is not built through repetition of affirmations alone. It is established through full acceptance of the end. Acceptance means you stop negotiating with the desire. You stop questioning whether you are worthy. You stop wondering whether it is possible. You drop the struggle, step into the completed version of yourself, and let that be the identity you carry. Expectation is simply the natural expression of someone who knows the result is done. In practical terms, begin each day by settling into the feeling of already having what you desire, not imagining it happening, but inhabiting the reality of it already achieved. Throughout the day, hold yourself as if the outcome is guaranteed. Whenever old thoughts attempt to pull you back into scarcity or impatience, gently return to the feeling of possession. You do not need to argue with fear or suppress it. You only need to reclaim the assumption that the money is already yours. The more quickly you return to that inner place, the faster the outer world will mirror it. You will notice subtle shifts. Your conversations may change. Your decisions may stabilize. You may find yourself responding differently to circumstances that once triggered anxiety. These changes are indicators that your inner state has shifted. They are signs that your assumption has taken root and is beginning to express itself through your behavior, which is always the forerunner of outer transformation. As you continue to live from this end state, something powerful occurs. You lose the sense of waiting. Waiting only exists when you believe the outcome is separate from you. When you assume it is done, there is nothing to wait for, because you already possess the essence of the experience within. And paradoxically, it is when you stop waiting that the physical manifestation arrives with the greatest speed. Assume the financial outcome is done. Live as if it has already unfolded. Cultivate the quiet, unwavering assurance of someone who knows the result is inevitable. Let your expectation be steady, natural, and rooted in the identity you now embody. When your inner world aligns with completion, your outer world must follow. Wealth begins to show up not as a stroke of luck, but as the inevitable expression of the state you have claimed as your truth. Your only task is to establish the outcome within yourself so clearly that it becomes the only reality you acknowledge. The moment you try to control how it will unfold, you step out of the state of creation and into the state of limitation. The how belongs to the unseen intelligence that responds to your inner assumption. When you dictate the method, you restrict what could have been an effortless, instantaneous unfolding. Releasing the how is not passivity, it is mastery. It is the recognition that the end you have accepted is already alive in the invisible, and your role is to sustain that acceptance without interference. Money does not need your strategic planning to reach you. It does not require your timelines, your logic, or your predictions. It requires your openness. It requires your willingness to let it come in the most natural, direct, and elegant way available. So many people slow their own manifestations by insisting they know the only way it can happen. They decide it must come through work, through a specific person, through a particular opportunity, through a deal, or through a single known channel. But when you restrict the channel, you restrict the flow. You narrow what was meant to be abundant and in doing so, you deny yourself the speed and grace that could have been yours. The universe has an infinite number of pathways to deliver the exact outcome you have already accepted. These pathways include people you have never met, ideas you have not yet had, circumstances you could not predict, and solutions you would never think to imagine. When you release the need to control the avenues, you allow these unseen forces to coordinate themselves in your favor. Everything begins aligning the moment you step back and let the end you declared take over. At any given moment, there are countless unseen movements working behind the scenes. Conversations are unfolding, decisions are being made, opportunities are forming, and resources are shifting, all without your awareness. The manifestation you desire is part of that larger orchestration, not separate from it. When you hold the end as done and remove your hands from the steering wheel, you permit that orchestration to carry you to the outcome faster than anything your rational mind could design. Releasing the how also frees you from the emotional turbulence that often sabotages financial manifestation. When you think the blessing must come through a certain route, you become anxious when that route is not moving. You begin to doubt because your chosen method appears blocked. But the blockage is only in your perception. It exists because you appointed yourself the architect of the path. When you release that appointment, doubt dissolves, anxiety quiets, and peace returns. Peace is fertile soil for manifestation. Turbulence is not. Consider how money has shown up for people in ways they never expected. A forgotten account suddenly credited, a debt erased, a bonus issued, a refund released, a gift offered, a business opportunity blossoming overnight, a client arriving out of nowhere, a sale closing unexpectedly. None of these events were predicted. None of them were meticulously planned. They emerged because the individual held the end long enough for reality to rearrange itself accordingly. The method was irrelevant. The openness was essential. When you release the how, you also release the burden of force. So many people try to push their manifestations into existence through effort, hustle, strategy, and strain. But money responds not to force, but to assumption. It flows to the one who knows it is already theirs. That knowing creates a magnetic pull. That magnetic pull creates synchronicity. Synchronicity creates the unfolding. And the unfolding brings the manifestation without exhaustion. You are not meant to chase what is already aligned with you. You are meant to receive it. Letting go of the method is an act of deep trust. Not trust in something external, but trust in the creative power operating within you. When you hold the end with conviction, you do not need to monitor every moving part. You do not need to check whether others are behaving in ways that support your goal. You do not need to evaluate circumstances for progress. Circumstances do not determine results, your inner state does. And your inner state becomes immovable when you stop interfering with the unfolding. Staying open and receptive means you adopt the mindset that the money can come in the simplest way possible. You let life surprise you. You let opportunities slip into your path without strain. You let intuitive nudges guide you instead of rigid plans. You let small impulses lead you to large outcomes. You walk in the awareness that the ending you accepted is the cause, and the route it travels is the effect. Effects do not concern the one who has already stepped into completion. Unattachment is not indifference. It is clarity. It is the knowing that the form will present itself because the essence is already fulfilled. You are not waiting for money. You are letting money find its way into your experience. You are not hoping for the right channel. You are allowing the right channel to appear. You are not checking for signs. You are embodying the result so deeply that signs become irrelevant. The more you practice this release, the faster manifestations respond. The less you interfere, the smoother the pathway becomes. When you surrender the how and the where, you open the door to financial blessings that are swift, elegant, and often astonishing in their precision. And in that openness, you discover a truth. The end you declare is inevitable the moment you stop trying to control the path that leads to it. Gratitude before physical evidence appears is not merely a positive attitude. It is a creative act. It is the silent declaration that your desire has already crossed the threshold from the unseen into the seen, and your role now is to welcome it with the dignity and confidence of someone who knows they are supported by something far greater than circumstance. When you give thanks ahead of time, you shift from a posture of wanting to a posture of possessing, and that shift is precisely what accelerates manifestation. Money flows to the individual who inwardly acknowledges that it is already theirs, because that acknowledgement removes the resistance that delays receiving. To understand why gratitude is so powerful, consider the emotional landscape it creates. Gratitude dissolves fear, quiets anxiety, and neutralizes the sense of lack that keeps abundance at arm's length. You cannot feel genuinely thankful and simultaneously feel deprived. The two states cannot coexist. Gratitude is the atmosphere of having, not hoping. When you give thanks for money before it arrives, you are aligning yourself with the frequency of completion. That alignment is what draws the manifestation into your experience with a speed that surprises you. Practice feeling gratitude as though the financial blessing is already in your hands. Imagine yourself holding the money, seeing the message of deposit, or experiencing the relief of cleared debt. As you imagine, let gratitude rise naturally, not forced. Let it wash over you as a warmth, a knowing, a quiet internal smile. Feel the shift in your chest, the ease in your breath, the clarity in your mind. You are no longer a seeker, you are the receiver. You are living from the aftermath of fulfillment, and gratitude becomes the language of that fulfilled state. The moment you give thanks in advance, you stop questioning whether it will happen. Gratitude eliminates the endless search for signs, because you already accept the end as completed. Instead of asking, when will it come? You feel it is done. This inner certainty is what collapses time. What might have taken weeks under a mindset of doubt can appear within days, sometimes hours, when gratitude becomes your internal foundation. During the 3-day manifestation period, make gratitude your dominant emotional tone. The mind will occasionally try to drag you back into old patterns, checking your bank account, evaluating your progress, wondering whether anything is shifting. Whenever you notice this happening, return to gratitude like returning to a familiar home. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and thank the unseen for delivering exactly what you have claimed. You do not need to repeat the entire visualization. A single moment of sincere gratitude can re-establish the fulfilled state instantly. It is as though you are reminding yourself, I already have it, and that reminder snaps you back into alignment. Allow gratitude to expand beyond the specific amount of money you are manifesting. Be thankful for the stability it brings, the ease it offers, the freedom it creates, the confidence it reinforces. Let gratitude touch every dimension of your life that this financial blessing will impact. In doing so, you broaden the emotional container in which the manifestation will arrive. You are preparing space, psychologically and energetically, for abundance to inhabit your world fully. There is also a subtle power in treating the manifestation as something you are stewarding, not something you are chasing. Gratitude transforms you from a person who is trying to attract money into someone who honors what has already been given. That shift in identity is crucial. When you walk through your day with the quiet poise of someone who has received, you naturally act, speak, and think from abundance. Opportunities feel different. Conversations feel different. Even your self-perception rises to meet your new internal reality. Gratitude becomes the bridge between the invisible and the visible. As you move through the 3 days, practice silent moments of thankfulness without ceremony. While walking, give thanks. While resting, give thanks. While completing routine tasks, give thanks. Do not wait for a special environment or perfect stillness. Gratitude is most powerful when it becomes the background frequency of your life. The more naturally you feel appreciation for what is coming, the more quickly it arrives, because you are consistently reinforcing the state in which the manifestation already exists. Finally, let your gratitude be the last inner act before falling asleep each night during this period. Drift into rest with the gentle feeling that the financial blessing has already materialized, and you are simply waiting for your physical senses to catch up with the truth your inner world already knows. Sleep in that awareness, and you allow the subconscious mind to continue the creative work without interruption. When you awaken, carry the same gratitude into the new day as though you are living in the afterglow of an answered intention. By giving thanks before the money appears, you are not pretending. You are acknowledging the deeper reality that creation happens first within. Gratitude seals that inner creation, stabilizes it, and prepares you to receive its physical expression. When you hold that level of appreciation with consistency and sincerity, the financial manifestation must reveal itself because your inner world has already declared it complete.